Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Startup Sense podcast. This is your host, Jonah Lupton. I must say, this is going to be one of my favorite episodes. I'm getting ready to talk to Scott Harrison. He is the founder of Charity Water. He started Charity Water about 10 years ago, back in 2006. His story is amazing. What he's done for, bringing clean water to the world is it's just incredible all around. I mean, he's a guy that will inspire you, no doubt, by the end of this interview. So let's welcome him. Scott, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. High hopes. Wow, I hope I can live up to that.
It's a little bit of an honor. I'm kind of blushing right now getting to talk to you just because I know where you came from. I know what you've done over the last 10 years. And I mean, most of us could never accomplish what you've done. So kudos to everything. And I'm excited to talk to you.
Thanks, man. We have an amazing team, as you know.
So tell us the story, man. How did you get into this? Why did you start Charity Water?
I guess I have to go back a little bit. I grew up in outside of Philadelphia in a middle class family, and when I was young, when I was 4 years old, my mom got really sick as we'd moved into a house with a carbon monoxide gas leak, and we all almost died. My dad eventually found the leak after my mom passed out unconscious on New Year's Day on the bedroom floor. But she was kind of never the same again. So her body just shut down. Her immune system shut down. And I grew up in this really bizarre home where mom wore masks and was connected to oxygen and everything made her sick. And my parents were trying to do their very best to raise me as an only child, with a moral compass. They were people of faith, just non-denominational Christian faith. And they really tried to do the best, but it was a weird childhood. And then at 18, I guess like so many cliches, I play out the selfish, now it's my turn story. And I moved to New York City and I joined a band and I start doing all the things that I wasn't allowed to do growing up in my family. I wasn't allowed to do in the church. And, I'm smoking, I'm drinking, I'm sleeping around, I'm, gambling, pornography. I mean, you name it. And became a nightclub promoter in Manhattan. And I thought, look, if you're going to rebel, you might as well rebel in style. And I just couldn't believe that there was a job where you could get paid to drink for a living. And all your friends would drink for free. So I got into nightclubs at 19 years old and really spent the next decade just selfishly serving myself. It was all about the party. It was all about the drinking and the drugs and the girls and the travel around the world to Fashion Week. And it was for me, a really hedonistic, self-serving lifestyle. And thankfully, about a decade later, I woke up in that kind of proverbial sense in South America. And I was on this opulent vacation in Punta del Este, and everything should have been right. My girlfriend was on the cover of Elle magazine. I drove a BMW. I had a grand piano in my New York apartment. I had a Rolex. I mean, I had a Labrador Retriever, all these things that, I thought were supposed to make you happy. And I realized, in this kind of quiet setting in South America, after a party that had gone on for 2 days, that there would never be enough. I would never find the happiness, the satisfaction in another party, in another relationship, with another drug cocktail. And I realized that if I didn't get off, if I didn't step away from this lifestyle, I'd probably die by the age of 40. And if I managed to play it out, my legacy was simply that of getting people wasted. I mean, I was doing nothing constructive, nothing that helped others. So I had a pretty radical change of heart and realized I'd come so far from the spirituality and the morality of my childhood, and I wanted to find my way back, almost in that prodigal sense, waking up one day, realizing I'm kind of covered in, pig crap, and I left something really beautiful. So I come back to New York City, and a couple months later, I sell everything that I own, trying to make a full 180-degree change, not just a heart change, but a real life change. And I begin to apply to the famous humanitarian organizations of the world, hoping one of them would take me for a year. And it's kind of the idea was to give one of the 10 years that I'd pissed away selfishly in the service of others. And I found it impossible to get hired, even as a volunteer, because of my background. So the rejection letters start rolling in because nobody knows how to really translate promoter skills to humanitarian efforts in sub-Saharan Africa. So I'm just getting denied and denied and denied. And then finally, one organization says, hey, look, if you're willing to pay us $500 a month and you're willing to go live in post-war Liberia, a country with no electricity, no running water, no sewage system, no mail system, we'll take you on. And I said, this is perfect. I was looking for the opposite of my life. Not only am I going to volunteer, it's going to cost me $500 a month for the pleasure. And that's where it all began. On that humanitarian mission, I saw many things, spent time in leprosy colonies. I was with doctors and surgeons who were operating on tumors and cleft lips and cleft palates. But really, I saw kids drinking dirty water. I'd never seen children drinking disgusting water with worms and with parasites in it. Kids drinking from green swamps because they didn't have any other water. And I think there was something about that issue, Jonah, that was in such contrast to the decadence of my lifestyle. You know, we would sell $1,000 bottles of champagne. We would sell, Voss water for, I don't know, 10 or 20 bucks to people who wouldn't even open the water. They would just have it on their table as a sign of wealth. And here I was watching children die of diarrhea because they had to drink from a brown, muddy, viscous river. And I just wanted to do something about it. So that was really that. The year turned into 2 years. So from 28 to 30, I was in West Africa, just experiencing extreme poverty for the first time and experiencing the water crisis, and came back and wanted to do something about what I'd seen. There was a responsibility not to help. You can't go back to club life after having those experiences.
Okay, so you started Charity Water in 2006 when you got back. How did you scrape together the money to get things up and running?
I think it was like a lot of startups. There was no money at the beginning, and nightclub promoters are not good at saving money. We're great at spending money and spending other people's money often. So at this moment, I had given everything that I'd owned away. I'd given it to mercy ships. I'd given money to the people I'd met along the way. So I was crashing on the closet floor of a flat in Soho, New York, on Spring and Mercer. My old club partner took me in and said, you can sleep here for a while and you can use my living room as your office. So there was no money in the beginning. And what I did have was the passion to make a difference in this huge, gargantuan issue, this crippling, paralyzing issue of, at the time, 1 billion people worldwide without clean water. And I also had photos and I had my experiences. So in those early days, I was going meeting to meeting to meeting to meeting, opening up my laptop, showing people the photos that I'd taken, showing them the reality out there, the water that people were drinking, and then also showing them the solutions, showing them what it looked like to build a well or drill a well and provide clean water for entire communities. And they kind of invited them into it. So it was really hard in the beginning. Because I didn't really have credibility, right? I'd been a club promoter for 10 years and a volunteer on this mission for 2. But, somehow, someone would give $100 and someone would give $500 and someone would give $1,000. It just started to grow.
How much does it cost to build a well?
It costs about $10,000 to drill a well. It costs about $6,000 to dig a hand-dug well. But, in actuality, Jonah, now we fund so many different solutions. We funded we fund $750,000 gravity-fed systems that, snake hundreds of miles of pipe across networks of villages and reservoirs and tanks. And then systems as little as $65 for a biosand filter for a family in Cambodia. So it's really all over the map. We've always been solution agnostic. Whatever the appropriate technology to deliver clean water in a sustainable way to the community is what we try and deliver.
I mean, there are so many reasons why people, love and support Charity Water. I think certainly it starts with you and then your team. So can you tell us about your team?
Yeah, well, one of the things at the very beginning that we wanted to do was address this huge disenchantment and distrust that people have with charities. Uh, in fact, 40% of Americans distrust charities, and 70% of Americans think charities waste their money. So while the issue we were going to work on was clear, right? Bring clean drinking water to every single human being on Earth. That was very clear. And we're a billion people away from that reality. The way to do it through a charitable organization, I thought we just needed to innovate. We needed to do something very different if we were going to reach out to the people that had been disenchanted, that might have felt betrayed or lied to by the system. So, from day one, I had this vision of trying to create a model where 100% of every dollar we would ever take, 100% of every donation that anybody would give from the public would go directly to fund clean water projects that we could then prove on Google Earth and Google Maps using photos and GPS. Later, that we'd even be able to prove by putting sensors on them so we'd know how much water was flowing for years to come. So that was kind of a bold idea. And I opened up 2 bank accounts with $100 each and said they're never going to touch each other. Somehow I'm going to figure out how to go and scrap for the overhead funding. Those salaries and the office costs and the rent and the copier and the toner and, those things that other people don't want to pay for, so that every penny we would take from the public, every donation could go straight to the projects. So that was a really big idea. The team at the beginning, the first person I hired was to help me work on the water projects. And then the second person was a creative director who I hired to help me build a beautiful brand. When I started, there was nothing that looked like Nike or Apple. Charity brands were anemic. Their websites were terrible. Their emails weren't mobile optimized. Charities would ask people to read 100-page white papers on issues. And that's just not how people communicated. So I really wanted to build a brand that was aspirational, that inspired people, that was about opportunity and not about guilt and shame, which so many charities, peddle in and try to make people feel horrible about their lives to then open up their wallets. I wanted to invite people into the beauty of service and the freedom that comes with radical generosity and caring for people thousands of miles away, and then actually giving of yourself to help them in tangible ways.
This is Jonah Lupton, founder of the Lupton Group and host of the Startup Sense podcast. Are you struggling to find the right tech team to build your company's website or mobile app? Maybe you've developed a product but need help with your go-to-market strategy, including branding and marketing. Well, stop worrying, because my team at the Lupton Group can assist you with all of those needs. We specialize in helping entrepreneurs and startups of all sizes launch and grow their businesses. For a free consultation, you can email me at jonahlupton@gmail.com or visit our website at luptongroup.co. So I think 2 things that you mentioned quickly that I wanted to kind of jump into and expand upon is, so the 100+ families that support Charity Water, how did you get them together? I mean, I know a few of the families, Chris Saka's family, I think that's actually how I heard about Charity Water 4 or 5 years ago. And then you rattled off a bunch of other families in our pre-call. So, I mean, that's obviously amazing. And like you said, I think a lot of us that give to charity, if we look them up on Charity Navigator and these other websites, we can see how much goes to overhead, and it's a little disenchanting. And you guys have found this other model that obviously works. So maybe tell us how you got those 100+ families to support you guys.
Yeah, well, I'll say, John, it was incredibly difficult in the beginning, raising overhead for something that doesn't even exist and hasn't made an impact yet. So it was really hard. It was going to friends. It was going to members of family saying, could I please have $5,000 or $10,000? Really crappy offices, just trying to get everything donated in the beginning. And it almost didn't work. I mean, I'll be honest, a year and a half in, we'd raised millions of dollars for the clean water project. So that was working. People were responding to the 100%. But on the other side, I was about to miss payroll in a few weeks and not be able to pay our office rent. And I was going to shut the organization down and cry business model failure, even though at the time I actually could have borrowed from almost $1 million in the water account that I'd promised not to touch. But, I believed if we borrowed 1 penny from the public's money and ever used 1 penny on overhead, there'd be a crack in the foundations, there'd be a crack in our integrity and the values, and we might as well all, go home in shame. So I was actually going to send all of that money, almost $1 million out, build as many water projects as possible, and then go bankrupt and say, hey, charity water didn't work. The 100% model just wasn't viable for us. We were very, very fortunate at that time that an entrepreneur took a cold meeting with me. His name was Michael Birch, and he'd sold a company to AOL. And he was one of those people that was skeptical about charities. And he said, look, I don't give to charities, right? High overheads. And I just don't think that the best people go and work in this sector. And I said, man, I know, like this is what we're trying to do here. We're trying to recruit the best talent. We're trying to build a hyper transparent organization that can prove impact. And he said, well, let me think about your problem. Because I told him that we were about to run out of money. A couple of days later, he wired $1 million into the overhead account. So we went from almost bankrupt to 13 months of funding. And then with that extra time, and I think, as I look back now, I think it was really the confidence as well that Michael gave me. Here was someone that believed in our model, believed in this radical, kind of crazy 100% model, and then gave us the breathing room to actually develop it further. So very quickly concepted a program called The Well. And we said, well, if Michael and his wife are willing to give in such a significant way to the overhead, I wonder if other people are. And that's just grown and grown over the years. We've never looked back. We've never kind of been close to running out of money ever since. And today it looks like 117 families, about half of them from technology. So it's the founders of Spotify and Facebook and Twitter and WordPress and Pandora, key executives at Apple, VCs like Chris Sacca. It's been this, it's kind of a motley crew. It's been actors like Ed Norton and Kristen Bell to Depeche Mode to football quarterbacks. Kind of this group of 117 families said, we love this model, and we want to make it possible for over 1 million people to have 100% go. So we almost didn't make it, but having that confidence, having the extra time, now it's a pretty thriving community of givers of 117 families.
And that's enabled you guys to raise how much from the public in terms of donations?
We've done a total now of almost $250 million. I think we're at $246 million or so. That's allowed us to fund over 22,000 water projects now across 24 countries for 7 million people. And the exciting thing is that since we started, the water crisis has gone from 1 billion people without water to 663 million. So we've seen, not just the impact we've been able to make, we've seen a lot of energy and awareness. People are talking about water. It has its own global goal now at the United Nations. So it's kind of cool thinking that, Charity Water now has 7 million people with water out of 663 million. So about 1% of the total global problem solved by our generous community of givers. And obviously so much more to do.
And how many employees or freelancers are associated with Charity Water right now?
Yeah, so we have 76 people in our headquarters in New York, and that's a mix of engineers working on web products, ways to connect our donors to their impact. It's a water programs team of about 20 people who are flying around the world with clipboards, both inspecting the quality of the work and also auditing the money, making sure the money's being spent. Office ops, HR, some people, some storytellers here. And then around the world, we employ 1,500 people through our local partners. So one of the keys to the model was not sending Westerners over to Africa or India or to Bangladesh to drill wells, but going out, identifying the local hydrologists, the local organizations, and growing their capacity. So I'll be in Ethiopia in a couple of weeks, and we employ over 500 people in a state called Tigray, hydrologists, technicians, drivers, accountants, all working every single day on providing clean water for their people. So we just believe for work to be sustainable, it must be led by the locals within these communities, within these countries. So our role is the funding, it's the awareness of this issue, it's the oversight of that money and the stewardship of that. But it's really empowering these local organizations to go out and be heroes and to go and deliver clean water to their communities and their countries.
So every week you guys are starting new projects, drilling new wells, correct?
Exactly. Yeah, we're giving now an average of about 2,800 people every single day of the year clean water. So about almost 10 communities every single day are getting clean water for the first time.
So what's the goal? I mean, 5 years from now, where do you think that the total number might be? It's at 7 million today. Where, how fast can you guys get to, 20 or 30 or 40 million?
That's a great question, Jonah. We now have a 3x capacity. We'll figure out how to raise about $45 million this year and help 1 million people get clean water. But we know how to fund projects for 3 million people this year. So we need to figure out how to 3x in the short term. And that's just simply raising more money. That's inviting more and more people into the community. One of the kind of pivots we made as we hit the decade in September is we realized, hey, look, we really built a one-time donation business. And while 1 million people around the world shook off the apathy that's so easy with an issue like this to say, well, how could I ever make a difference in the water crisis? Women walking 8 hours a day in Africa. I mean, I've never even experienced this. Getting them to actually care, getting them to give. But the problem is they gave once. It was $100 here, $500 there, or $20 there, $1,000 there. So as we turned 10, we realized, to make a greater impact in the next 10 years, we really had to build a community of people who are willing to show up every month. And we launched a brand new giving community called The Spring. And, it's not that new of a concept, right? We're subscribing to Hulu or Spotify or, HBO or magazines, Netflix. We have all these subscriptions every single month that benefit us. What we're trying to do is create a subscription that 100% of the money benefits others, and then we're able to connect people with the impact of that. So that's really exciting. We've seen a lot of growth. I think it was up 400% just in the first kind of 6 months since we launched it. And that we really believe is the future. So we're asking people to give $30 a month, $1 a day. And for $30, Charity Water can get one person clean water. So imagine if we had 1 million people, signing up to give one person clean water every month. We'd have 12 million people clean water every single year. We'd be going a lot faster. So that's kind of the future vision that's out there.
And how have you guys connected with these donors? I mean, I know it seems like you guys are kind of on you're one of these new innovative charities that really uses social media and content and videos and analytics and everything to connect with, certainly millennials. But maybe you can tell me more about the strategy.
Well, one of the early ideas was getting people to donate their birthdays to Charity Water.
Right, which I've done.
Which you've done, right? And you've probably given to countless other birthdays as people have hit you up for that. And we said, look, birthdays have become this huge commercial endeavor, right? We get crap on our birthday that we don't need, we don't even want. Wallets, ties, handbags, socks, gift cards. And there are human beings living without their most basic need for life met. 660 million humans, simply because of where they're born, are struggling every single day, are risking their lives drinking dirty water. So what if we could use our birthdays to help other people actually have more birthdays and say, you know what, I'm going to skip the party. I'm going to skip the gifts. And I thought, the sticky kind of marketing idea might be to get people to ask for their age in dollars. So I tested this with my 32nd birthday, and I said, look, everybody I know could donate $32 for my 32nd birthday, especially if they knew that 100% of the money would go to projects, and they could see the photos in the GPS. They could see the people that their $32 had helped. And then a 7-year-old kid in Austin said, well, I'm going to do my 7th birthday, and he starts knocking on doors asking for $7 when the kid raised $20,000.
Jeez, wow.
And then an 89-year-old donated her birthday and said, I'm asking for $89 donations so other people could actually have a chance to reach the age of 89 in some of these places. So this movement of people donating their birthdays really began to spread. I mean, Jack Dorsey donated 3 birthdays, raised almost $200,000. Will and Jada Smith donated their birthdays. Chris Sacca not only did his birthday, but he did his wedding, did the birthdays on the birth of all of his children. So it was just this kind of very simple idea. We don't need stuff. We don't need a Hallmark card. We don't need a gift card. let's use our birthday as a way to involve our friends and our family and our work community in the service of others. And I think the 100% has been really key to that. So that's something that's really spread. If there's anyone listening that thinks that's a good idea, we'd love your birthday. You can go to charitywater.org/birthdays and just pledge, even if it's a year from now. But the amazing thing, Jonah, the average person raises $1,000, way more than most people think they can raise.
Oh, for
and
sure.
They get 15 people involved. So the power of that is when you gave up your birthday, you got people involved that had never heard of Charity Water before, people we could never reach, who said, wow, if Jonah thinks this is a cool thing, maybe I don't even know that much about the charity, but I trust Jonah and I'd love to help him and hook him up for his birthday. So that's actually something that, that's still as viable today as it was, when we started doing this 8 years ago. And again, imagine 1 million people donating their birthdays, raising $1 billion for clean water.
So 12 years ago, or I think around then, when you got out of the nightclub promoting life and you realized that you needed this change in your life, that what you've been doing for the last 10 years just wasn't sending you down the right path. And then now today, you just look back over the last 10 years, everything you've accomplished, all the millions of people that you've probably saved with clean water. I mean, what does this all mean to you?
This sounds strange to some people, but I expected we would have done more, to be quite honest.
Really? That's not what I expected to hear.
I would have thought we would have figured out how to raise $1 billion instead of 250 million. And
you'll get there.
Yeah. So, it's definitely been a learning adventure. And, I've been fortunate. I've been able to travel to 61 countries now. And I'll be in Ethiopia for the 30th time in 2 weeks. So, as you said, I get to see the impact up close. I get to meet people who've had their lives transformed with clean water. I'm going to be in Uganda in April, visiting a woman who got clean water for the first time and told our team that she felt beautiful because she had enough water to wash her face and her clothes. And she never had enough water to do that before. So that's deeply moving, walking with people, meeting 13-year-old girls who are no longer drinking from the swamp with donkeys and cows and are drinking clean water for the first time in their lives. But we want to do more. So I'm really focused kind of on the future. And I worked with a business coach for a few years who was always trying to get me to pause and savor the moment. And, I was never good at that. So it's hard to kind of look back and, pat ourselves on the shoulders with so much work left to be done with so many people that we still feel a deep responsibility to help and to help them tell their story.
I think that's what makes you a great entrepreneur and a great CEO is you're never satisfied. You want more. Your goals are, every time you hit a goal, you're just going to keep making a new one. So
it may be exhausting to work with us.
Now you met your wife through Charity Water, correct?
I did. I mentioned her. She was the second employee. She was the person that I'd hired to help lead creative and build a brand. And it was a pretty amazing story. She was working at an agency. The agency's motto was create desire. And she was working on beauty and cosmetic products and car companies and just said, look, I'm selling people stuff that has no redemptive quality in the world. And nothing against beauty products or cars, but she just was at this place in her life where she wanted her work to matter. She wanted, to turn up 60 hours a week and have the things that she was creating add something human, help people. So she wound up taking a pay cut to join Charity Water, giving up all of her health insurance, her dental, all of her benefits. I mean, we were just a fledgling organization that, we weren't even sure whether we were going to make it. And we became, close. And at that time, there were only a few of us working, probably 80 hours a week. I mean, we were working 7 days a week. And it was obviously a flat organization. And, one day my best friend said, hey, you and Vic should get together. I mean, she wants to dedicate her rest of the life to the poor, and she's an amazing designer, and she seems to really care about you. And we had this kind of early awkward conversation. I said, have you ever thought about us? And she said, yeah, for a while. And then the rest is history. And then we started making babies, and we've got 2 beautiful children now. And Vic actually just left Charity Water after 9 years. and is writing a book now on storytelling and marketing and design and some of the things that she learned here, and left an amazing team and culture behind.
So cool. Now, I know there are 1.5 million charities in the U.S. So, if someone came to you and said, I want to start a charity, what advice do you have for me? I'm not sure we need more charities, unless they have some special reason or motivation behind it. Someone's not solving that need. But let's just, for argument's sake, say, someone came to you and said, I want to start a charity. What advice can you give me?
Okay, I'm going to give you a story that's going to blow your mind. So,
Perfect.
Stanford Social Innovation Review did a study. Now, this is about 10 years old, but they looked at those 1.4 million charities, and they said, how many of these really got to scale? How many of these things kind of made it and got big? They called big a $50 million a year run rate. What would be your guess over a 40-year period? How many of the 1.4 million made it?
I would say 1%.
0.007%. 144.
Jeez, yeah. I mean, that's big scale, right? I mean, 50 million is no joke. That's a lot of money. But right, I get the point, and that's my point too. Is that out of the 1.4, 80-90% of them probably don't really provide that much value, taking a bunch of money and probably don't dish it out.
Yeah. So I'm not. It's a really good question. What I normally tell people is go look around. Is there someone else doing what you want to do, or doing it the way that you have the vision for? When I started Charity Water, nobody else was doing the 100% model like that. And
Right.
And really the vision was to reinvent charity, was to reach out to all these people who I thought were almost depriving themselves of giving. It's a beautiful thing to give generously. It's a beautiful thing to be a part of repairing, these broken parts of the world through our time and our talent and our money. And nobody was doing it the way that I kind of envisioned it in my head. I think there are a lot of other great organizations. If I'd picked another issue, I'd be happy to go work somewhere else and add value as a chief marketing officer, or, whatever the skill was, right? I think Vic, I've talked about it. She could imagine going and working at a lot of places as a creative director or a senior graphic designer, and adding value. So I think my advice there is just, can you join someone? Is someone doing it already? The thing you're passionate about, if it's shelter or water or hunger or sex trafficking or, the homeless issues, go and join them, or do whatever you can to work there. But it's not always easy to get a job at this place. And, go start something. If you really feel like you're going to have the time and the passion and the energy to dedicate years upon years to it, then by all means, start it, but count the cost, because it will not be easy. One of my favorite quotes that I came across a decade ago was this quote that said, "Do not be afraid of work that has no end." Because that is truly what you're getting into. The work will never end. If and when Charity Water sees a world where every single person is drinking clean water, we're not just going to drop the mic and go work at Goldman Sachs. We'll take our competencies, our passion, our community, and we'll probably focus them on some other area of human suffering. It is truly work with no end when you are working in service of others, when you're working to eliminate suffering and help people out of extreme poverty.
Here's a question you probably haven't been asked before. Maybe you have. What you've done with Charity Water is nothing short of amazing. Obviously shows your passion, your entrepreneurial skills. Have you been recruited to any other, privately owned companies or public companies?
I have, but I can't. I can't say who.
I figured you wouldn't say who.
It's flattering. I'm not driven by money. I make a decent salary here. My wife and I give away 20% of our income to church and charity. The only thing I think I wish sometimes is that I had more money to give away to other causes that I'm trying to mentor, or people I'm trying to support. So, our work is not finished. There's so much more to do. It's flattering to be offered jobs from time to time, but actually just last week, someone tried to hire me to do something. But I'm really focused on Charity Water, on seeing an end to the water crisis, on continuing to try to reinvent charity and come up with new and innovative ways to be transparent and connect donors and empower locals around the world with funding to make their countries better places.
And you're one of the most connected people that I've ever talked to. So, that only comes when you build something amazing that people want to be part of it. So
it's nice, man.
That's pretty much all I got for you, man. I could sit here and chat all day, but I'm sure you've busier things to take care of. And I know it's been a true honor for me to have you on the show. And I just want to really thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on and sharing what you've built here.
Of course, man. I really appreciate it. If listeners are interested in any of the things that we talked about, charitywater.org/thespring is kind of that new community we're trying to build. And then the birthdays thing is something for everybody can really make an impact, whether it's people listening have kids. It's a great way to start teaching them about philanthropy and about this issue. And kids are surprised how much they can raise. We just had a 9-year-old girl in Vancouver did 12 lemonade stands for Charity Water. One of the lemonade stands, she was out in the rain. She would not come in. And at her 12th lemonade stand, she convinces a local band to perform on the sidewalk to attract lemonade buyers. And she's now sold $5,400 of lemonade.
Wow.
So, that's really what Charity Water is about. Everyday people saying, I could give $30 a month. I could donate a birthday. I can do something about this. Not about the rich, not about the famous. It's just about, that's really our passion, is for 9-year-old girls in Vancouver, or 89-year-olds giving up their birthdays, or 35-year-old, software engineers that say, I could give $1 a day. I could help one person a month.
Where's the best place to find videos of, the people that you've helped, kind of sharing their story and how clean water's changed their life?
Yeah, 2 links. charitywater.org/thespringfilm is our 10th anniversary film. And then there's a really cool kind of hidden series that's charitywater.org/journey, where we did an 8-part mini-series with our partners in Ethiopia. And you can really see what it's like. How are wells drilled? What are the challenges? What's it like when communities get clean water? They're blowing up wells with dynamite to get through the rock. Really fascinating stuff. So charitywater.org/thespringfilm and charitywater.org/journey. 2 great places for videos.
Okay, perfect. I'll put those in the show notes, and hopefully we can drive some traffic to them. Well, Scott, man, thank you so much. You're such a great guy, and you're changing the world. I wish we could all, do just 1% of what you've done. So thank you.
Thank you, man. Thanks for the opportunity to share. God bless you, buddy.
Got it, man. Talk to you soon.